Hi, welcome to Diva's Paradise, a wonderful world of fashion, beauty, and lifestyle. This is my first lifestyle segment. I know you're used to seeing beauty tutorials and makeup hauls, but we're going to talk lifestyle, meaning everything else, be it travel, food, stuff like that, home decor, or whatever. But anyway, the first thing I'm going to show you how to make is called Stamp and Go. I am of a Jamaican background. My parents are Jamaican. I'm married to a Jamaican. Therefore, I like things that are Jamaican. Not necessarily all Jamaican, but I can cook Jamaican dishes. So, I'm going to show you how to make Stamp and Go. Stamp and Go got its nickname because in Jamaica, back in the day when the people would travel throughout the countryside, they might stop and get some saltfish fritters and go. So, it was called Stamp and Go. So, it's also known as codfish fritters. So, if you ask another West Indian person you want some codfish fritters, that you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Sorry for the coughing, but right now the peppers are getting to me. But anyway, let's get on with it. The primary ingredient that you're going to need for this, once again, you're not going to see my face because I'm in cooking mode right now. When my face is done up, we can talk about that. But what the primary ingredient you're going to need for this would be salted fish. If you go into an ethnic market, it will come, you know, you could be out in a big barrel or, sorry about that, or it'd be in a packet, and even Spanish markets would have it. Usually I get this like from West Indian stores that's operated by Koreans. Living in New York is kind of easy to find, but believe it or not, even places like BJ's and Costco are selling it. This package I actually bought at BJ's. If you go into a Spanish shop and you ask them for bacalao, it's the same thing. It's salted cod. Alright, bacalao. But I went to Costco and I got this one, which I actually liked and I enjoyed. And this one is actually salted Alaskan pollock fillets. This 2-pound bag cost me probably about $7, and this was from Costco. Believe it or not, I actually liked the pollock more than I did the salted cod from BJ's, only because I got much more fish in it for the same price. This price cost, and this is only 1 pound, cost the same price as the salted pollock, and the salted pollock was 2 pounds, and they were both the same price. But anyway, let me show you what it looks like out of the package. Okay, this is what it looks like. Basically, it's dried out fish, okay, and it's heavily salted. So all of this is salt, okay. You would have to either boil it or soak it before using, depending on what kind of recipe you're using. Here, for our salted cod, our Stamp and Go recipe, we're using the codfish. We soaked it 30 minutes in cold water just to get the excess salt off. I rinsed it off first, and then I soaked it in water for 30 minutes. So this is 8 ounces or half a pound, okay? So we're using half a pound of cod. In this bowl right here, I have flour because this is what we're going to be making the fritter base with. Basically, this is 3 cups of flour, or roughly 1 pound. Or if you want to measure with a scale, 500 grams of flour. Into this, I also added 1 teaspoon of baking powder, but that's optional. You don't have to put baking powder. I put baking powder in mine. Also, I put a half a teaspoon of thyme, T-H-Y-M-E. You know that seasoning? Half a teaspoon of thyme. I'm also going to be using, normally I'll use like 3 scallions, but because these are so fat, I'm only going to use 2. And I would use 2 scotch bonnet peppers. That's our Jamaican peppers. They're very fiery. They're very, very hot. Or if you go into an ethnic market, you might ask them for habaneros. Okay, H-A-B-E, N-E-R-O-S, habaneros. But for us, it's scotch bonnet. They come in different shades. This is the one I keep in my freezer because sometimes, you know, you don't want the peppers to go off on, you know, you have it sitting around and use seasoning, because I like to use fresh stuff. Sometimes my extra peppers and stuff I'll freeze. Like this is a frozen scotch bonnet. That's what we call them. Jamaicans will call it scotch bonnets. So anyway, what you're going to do, you're going to have the flour here, right? I'm going to chop up my scallion. I'm going to chop up the pepper. I'm going to come back. And then what we need to do with the fish now, because we only soaked it in water, we need to go through and shred it and take out all of the bones. So I'm going to do that, come back and show you what it looks like. Alright, an important thing that I forgot to tell you, when you get ready to chop up the peppers, make sure you take the seeds out. Just like when you open like a bell pepper or green pepper or one of those peppers and you see like a whole bunch of little seeded things in it. If you do not take them out, it's going to burn like fire. So if I were you, just take all the seeded bits out, So you're just left with just this, okay? And then this is what you're going to chop up. All right. I forgot to tell y'all to put also a half of small tomato. Just a small tomato in half, and it's also going to be chopped up. Okay, this is my scallion. It's all chopped up, finely chopped. And here is the scotch bonnet pepper. It's all finely chopped. Remember, you had to remove the seeds. Here is the half a tomato mixed in with, actually it's just dumped on top of the finely shredded cod. I just wanted you to see what that looks like. It's just, actually, I'm going to shred it a little bit more, but just basically shred it to bits to make sure there's no bones in there. But this is what it looks like. It's chopped up. Here's, once again, the codfish I told you, finely shredded with a half a tomato. You could use 2 scotch bonnet. This time, because the scotch bonnet was so big, I used 1, and this is 2 scallions. I normally use 3, but the scallions were big. But then, this being West Indian cooking, nothing is absolute. You can do it how you want to do it. It's not a problem. You know, do it to your taste. This doesn't require measuring, because West Indians usually cook and they don't measure. Ask any West Indian mother. So to the flour, we're going to add all of our chopped ingredients. Get my knife for that. Oh. We're going to add all the chopped ingredients. Okay, so that's our scallion, aka green onion, as West Indians would call it, the scotch bonnet pepper. And then I'm also going to put in here the shredded, because we don't waste anything here, the shredded cod and tomato, which I think I could even shred even smaller, but it's all good. Like I said, you can do it the way you want to do it. It's to taste. Then, because West Indians traditionally will tell you, girls with long nails never make dumpling. My nails aren't long, actually. Right now they're cut, but I have long nail beds. But I usually just give this a good raking before I add water, and basically you're just going to add enough water to make a sticky paste. Alright. Most people will be like, how much water is enough water to make a sticky paste? Well, I start bit by bit. So this is about 4 ounces of water. I'm going to sprinkle a little bit. I'm not using all of it, okay, because we want to gauge it as we go. Because once again, you know, Jamaicans don't measure. This obviously needs more water. So I'm going to put some more water. Actually, I'll just put the whole 4 ounces in there and see. I think I'm going to need more water to make the sticky paste. In the meantime, you can heat your oil up because you're going to be frying it. I'm going to add some more water, so let's get another 4 ounces. Okay, I would say that this is the consistency you want to get. This ended up being about 14 ounces of water. It doesn't have to be exact. Once again, West Indian cooking isn't absolute. You add little of this, little of that. You just visually eyeball it. I might put a little bit more water, but basically, that's a tippy tip. Tippy tip. That's good. Because it should be a sticky batter. And actually, this looks good. This looks just fine. So now what we're going to do, we're going to fry it in hot grease. Not enough to burn it, but enough that it's cooked golden brown. And we'll show you what that looks like when we're done. Basically, we had to turn the fan on because I hate my house smelling like grease. I usually use like a tablespoon to measure about how much I'm going to put into the frying pan to get it, you know, fried up. But you can put how much you want to put depending on how big. This batter will make enough for at least 4 people. Like I said, ooh, hot oil. Ooh. I'm going to use my tablespoon to measure it out, and I'll tell you about how much fritters I got out of this. I'm just going to put it into the hot oil, but stand back once again. The oil is hot. So get an idea. Can you zoom in on that pan? You see how it's frying up nicely? Basically, that's what you want to get when you're making your fritters. The oil should be nice and hot. Not enough to burn it, but we do want to have it to come out golden brown. And I just drop rounded mounds in it. Okay? And we shall be back. I'll show you what it looks like. Okay, we're finally finished. This is what it looks like. They've all been fried up, golden brown. I ended up switching from a tablespoon to a teaspoon because they were coming out really big. Or I call it hungry belly size. They were too big, but this was the size that I got using a tablespoon. So these are much smaller. They're all fried golden brown. They're very crispy. If you hear, I'll let you hear what it sounds like. This is because of the baking soda. But if you don't want it so crispy, you don't have to put baking soda. It's optional. Alright, I'll try to put the ingredients on the side, but I hope you enjoyed this. It's delicious. Oh, shouldn't put it back, I just bit it. But I also should add, let me stop talking with my mouth full of food, that if you have high blood pressure issues, then you may want to soak your saltfish a little bit longer. Mine was soaked for like 30 minutes. Remember, you're not adding any salt to this recipe because the fish already has enough salt. Anyway, this is Diva signing off. Hope you enjoyed, and you can hit me back, comment, subscribe. Let me know how you enjoyed this recipe. And it's a good thing I didn't add too much scotch bonnet pepper because the children are going to be eating this, and they cannot take it when it's too spicy. Speaking of children, that's the baby, so I've got to run. Take care until my next episode of Diva's Paradise. Bye. These are best eaten hot. Nice and hot.